It was a typical day in the sunny, vibrant world of Peppa Pig. The morning sun spilled into the little pig house, stirring Peppa and her brother George from their slumber. After a hearty breakfast and a rousing game of I Love You, Mummy Pig, Peppa found herself lounging in the cozy living room of her home, her trusty tablet resting on her knees. She was completely absorbed in her favorite program, the Cheesiest Pizza Challenge. This wasn't just any ordinary cooking show. It was a celebration of cheesy creations, so extravagant, so over the top, that it left Peppa's mouth watering every single time. The episode featured a renowned pizza chef who was attempting to create the world's most impressive cheese sculpture using pizza dough and an astonishing amount of cheese. Peppa watched, mesmerized, as the dough was stretched and twisted, eventually transformed into a magnificent cheese-covered masterpiece. The host proudly announced, "Behold, the golden cheese sculpture. It took me years to perfect." But Peppa was already envisioning her own cheese adventure. She dreamed of creating a similar spectacle in her own home, if only she could convince her parents. Just then, the doorbell rang, announcing the arrival of her father, Daddy Pig! Daddy Pig, known for his love of food and his somewhat unpredictable ideas, often surprised his family with special dinners. Today was no exception. His eyes twinkling with mischief, he held up a package. "Guess what? I have a wonderful surprise for you both today," he said, his voice echoing with excitement. Peppa, ever inquisitive, couldn't resist asking, "Is it pizza, Daddy?" Daddy Pig merely smiled mysteriously and replied, "Something even better." Of course, Peppa didn't really believe him. There was nothing better than pizza, especially not on a day like this. She pouted slightly, but Daddy Pig, oblivious to her thoughts, headed straight for the kitchen, humming a cheerful tune. This only fueled Peppa's curiosity and determination. She decided to investigate further. Daddy Pig was truly up to something extraordinary. In the kitchen, Daddy Pig was indeed orchestrating a culinary spectacle. On the kitchen counter lay a veritable mountain of cheese. Cheddars, Gouda, Edam, mozzarella, you name it. And Daddy Pig was meticulously arranging them all, clearly on a mission to create something spectacular. Peppa couldn't help but rush over to her favorite spot, the windowsill, and peek out. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she spotted a familiar sight across the street, the Cheese Emporium. She waved enthusiastically, hoping to share her joy with the owner, Mr. Cheese, who was renowned for his vast knowledge and love of all things cheesy. Mr. Cheese, ever to charm her, waved back, his smile as warm and inviting as a freshly baked cheese souffle. And then he did something unexpected. He pulled out a massive wheel of cheese from behind the counter. It was a cheese so large, so heavy that it looked like it belonged in a museum. Mr. Cheese winked at Peppa and shouted, "For your Daddy Pig! Extra special delivery." This was no ordinary cheese. It was a cheddar, so aged, so refined that it was considered the crown jewel of Mr. Cheese's emporium. Its sharp, tangy flavor was legendary, and its mere presence added a touch of sophistication to any dish. Peppa squealed with delight. This was exactly the kind of cheese that the host used in her golden cheese sculpture. Could Daddy Pig be planning to make a cheese sculpture too? Her imagination ran wild. As the aroma of cheese filled the air, it was clear that Daddy Pig had outdone himself. Even Mummy Pig, who usually remained composed, couldn't help but gasp in surprise. Well, Daddy Pig, it seems like you've gone all out," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. Daddy Pig beamed with pride. "I thought we could have our very own cheese sculpture," he said, gesturing grandly towards the mountain of cheese. Peppa and George stared in awe. They had never seen so much cheese assembled in one place before. It was a cheesy wonderland. Suddenly, George, the youngest member of the family, couldn't hold back anymore. He rushed towards the cheese mountain and exclaimed, "One cheese, 2, 3, 4, and he continued counting, completely enamored by the cheesy spectacle. Peppa and Mummy Pig exchanged amused glances. They knew George's fascination with numbers, and it seemed that today's cheesy adventure had captured his imagination completely. Meanwhile, Daddy Pig was carefully assembling his cheese masterpiece. He had watched the show attentively and wanted to pay homage to the cheese sculpture. He started by forming the base, a solid foundation of aged cheddar. Then he began to sculpt, using various types of cheese to add texture and depth to his creation. As Daddy Pig worked, he sang songs, his favorite way of expressing his enthusiasm. With cheese so fine, we'll build so high, a cheesy tower to the sky. Peppa and George joined in, their voices echoing his joy. The kitchen became a concert hall, a place where music and cheese intertwined in a harmonious symphony. Hour after hour, Daddy Pig sculpted, his movements becoming more precise, more confident. He added finishing touches here and there, and soon his creation was complete. It was not exactly the golden cheese sculpture from the show, but it was unique, charming, and undoubtedly impressive. Peppa and George stood before it, their mouths agape. The cheese sculpture was beautiful, and the thought that their father had made it himself filled them with pride. Mummy Pig, who had been quietly observing, couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration for Daddy Pig. He had taken inspiration from a TV show and created something truly special. "Well done, Daddy Pig," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "You've outdone yourself." Daddy Pig blushed, his earlier confidence replaced by a bashful smile. I just wanted to make you happy," he stammered. At that moment, Peppa and George, their faces covered in cheese crumbs, nodded in unison. They were happy. Not just because of the cheese sculpture or the promise of a cheesy dinner, but because of the love, laughter, and togetherness that filled their home. As the family gathered around the table, the cheese sculpture taking center stage, they knew they were truly blessed. The dinner was everything they had hoped for. The cheese sculpture, while not edible, served as a reminder of Daddy Pig's creativity and love. Each bite of pizza, each piece of cheese, each crumb that fell was infused with the joy of the day. Later, as the evening drew to a close and the last cheese was cleared away, Peppa snuggled up on the sofa beside her parents. The cheese sculpture, now carefully stored away, loomed large in her memory. It had been a day filled with surprises, laughter, and cheesy adventures. Looking at her parents, she realized that the greatest treasure of all was the love and bond they shared. No cheese sculpture, no matter how impressive, could ever replace that. "Thank you, Daddy Pig," she whispered, her voice heavy with emotion. This was the cheesiest day ever. Daddy Pig, his eyes twinkling, ruffled Peppa's hair. "And remember, tomorrow is a new day with a new opportunity to create even more cheesy adventures," he said. Peppa smiled. She knew that with her family by her side, every day was an opportunity for love, laughter, and a little bit of cheese. The end.